Marianne Rampula, and I hope I pronounce everybody's name correctly. Brief bit about Marianne. She was compelled to become an active Dem when George W. Bush ran for his second term in 2004. She's been an active member of the Raritan Township Democratic Club since that time, serving in many leadership roles, currently serving as treasurer. She's been an active campaign volunteer, doing field organizing, media, campaigning, canvassing, calling, everything you can imagine to support our Democratic hope to be elected officials. She's a member of the Hunterdon County Democratic Party's Executive Committee since 2006. And she started as a poll worker for the county in 1996 when the Dominion DREs, and she'll tell you what those are, were first rolled out in the county. In 2016, Marianne was appointed to the Hunterdon County Board of Elections. Joyce Santos, who will also be the primary presenter, registered as a Dem in the 2016 primary. She worked as a poll worker in that election and has been doing that up until this year. And that year, she also joined Action Together New Jersey and Action Together at Hunterdon County Steering Committee and New Jersey 7 Forward in their steering committee. And her mission at that time, her focus was trying to get all of the local activist groups in our congressional districts to really working towards a common goal, which is a laudable goal. In 2017, she joined both the Hunterdon County Dems and the Raritan Township Dems. In 2017, she ran for the Raritan Township Committee. She's worked on multiple campaigns, canvass, phone calling, and coordinated phone banks for the successful Joe Biden campaign, yay. She's been a member of the Hunterdon County Dem Committee and their executive board since early this year. And in March of this year, she was appointed to the Board of Elections, replacing Elizabeth Colacino, whose name I hope I pronounced correctly. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing and ask Joyce now to please share her screen and start the presentation. So again, thank you both, Marianne and Joyce. We really appreciate your time and helping us understand what's going on.
Thank you. And as I go through, if you have questions, if somebody monitors the questions, then just interrupt me and let me know. That would be great. And Marianne also will chirp in if I go in the wrong direction. So the first question we wanted to answer for you is the Board of Elections versus the county clerk and the voting roles and responsibilities. And in New Jersey, the county clerk is an elected official who has responsibilities that include overseeing elections. So she oversees and it's Mary Melfi, she oversees the petition process. She designs the ballots and determines the placement of candidates on the ballot. She keeps a list of vote-by-mail voters and mails out ballots to them. She collects, records, and reports the machine voting results for both early voting and election day, and certifies full voting results of the vote-by-mail and early voting and election day to the state. For the Board of Elections, in New Jersey, it consists of county employees with the responsibility of voter registration and execution of elections, so making sure the machines are in the right place and doing the right things. And then there are 4 members who are appointed, 2 Democrats, Marianne and I, and 2 Republicans who oversee the functions of the Board of Elections. And all of the responsibilities of this group are to provide updates to the state's voter file. When people move or pass away or whatever, we want to make sure the voter file is correct, maintaining the polling equipment, coordinating the polling places with municipal clerks, hire poll workers, hire and manage the poll workers, train the poll workers, collect, record, and report the vote by mail and provisional voting results to the clerk. And with provisional voting, make sure the voter hasn't voted in any other way. And the Board of Election Commissioners review the ballots that have been rejected to make sure we agree that they've been rejected, and then figure out what the cure needs to be, whether it's signature or it was received late, residency issues, etc. We also are involved in performing audits of the paper ballots. So vote by mail. In New Jersey, it's a no excuse vote by mail state. Anyone who wants to vote by mail can vote by mail.
Excuse me for a second, Joyce. There was a question about how long is the term of appointment to the Board of Elections?
It's 2 years, isn't it, Marianne?
Yeah, 2 years.
2 years.
And you're
I think I
appointed
know
by the governor.
Yes. Yes, it's
Please repeat that. It got stepped over. I don't think it was clear for everybody. I'm sorry.
It's 2 years and appointed by the governor.
Thank you.
Voters can choose. In last year, we had, because of COVID, everybody got vote by mails. This year is different. Voters can choose to be on the permanent list to receive vote by mail ballots until they opt out, or just for a single election. Vote by mail ballots for the 2021 elections will start being mailed about the 25th of September, so in about a month.
Joyce, we had a question, another one.
Yeah, okay.
Back on, who is responsible for taking voting complaints or issues about voting? I guess it depends on what the complaint is. So if you didn't get your vote by mail ballot, that would be the clerk. If somebody is not correctly represented on the ballot, again, that's the clerk is responsible for the ballot, so she would take that. If it's a complaint about something going on at the polling place that shouldn't be, or machines are not working or anything like that, that goes to the Board of Elections.
Thanks, Marianne. So in 2021, we're back to business as usual. If you're on the vote by mail list, you'll receive your ballot. And some changes that were made starting in 2020 and will continue going forward is vote by mail ballots can be dropped off at one of the 12 ballot box locations, or they can be dropped off at the county clerks at the Board of Elections, or they can be mailed in. Vote by mail ballots that are mailed in with a postmark of election day and received by the Board of Elections within 7 days will be counted. If a vote by mail ballot is rejected due to signature discrepancies, the voter will be issued a cure form so that they can correct the signature and potentially making the ballot eligible to be counted. Sorry, I got my mouse in the wrong place. So this year we have something new. We have early voting. New Jersey is implementing early voting for the very first time, starting with the 2021 election. Hunterdon County will have 3 different locations for early voting. The first one is in the North County Library in Clinton, the main branch of the county library in Raritan Township, and also the Hunterdon County Fairgrounds in East Amwell. There's a new building that will have the early voting. And early voting will run for 9 days, starting the second Saturday before Election Day, so that it's October 23rd to October 31st. Monday through Saturday will be 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday will be 10 to 6 p.m. And because of the early voting and being able to vote in different locations, we had to replace the paper books that voters usually sign in on. Because if you can imagine, if you signed in Clinton, we need to have a way to know in Raritan Township the voter has signed in. So the electronic poll books are required for early voting. And it will, when you sign in on the electronic poll book, it will update the system so that we know that you voted. And it tracks in real time across early voting centers to prevent somebody from voting twice. We also had to get new voting machines because the early voting centers required to have a paper trail so that we can go back and see what people voted for and recount if we need to. We also needed the machines to be able to support any municipality in the county at any of the 3 voting centers. So if you're in Lambertville and you go to Clinton, we've got to provide the correct ballot for you. So our previous equipment is the Dominion DREs, which were direct recording electronic voting machines, which I had to look up so that I could explain what they were. And they were purchased in 1996. When you go to vote, you vote on those and it's electronic, but there's no paper trail. and required to have a paper trail now. So in 2019, we piloted 2 machines in Raritan Township, the Dominion and the ES&S. And I worked the place where the ES&S was being piloted. I see we have another chat.
Right, so
Yes, all the new voting centers will have the new machines. So in order to support the 2021 early voting, we reviewed several electronic poll books and voting machines from various vendors to try to find the solution that was going to work the best for our voters. We sent our recommendations to the county commissioners because they required the fund, they provide the funding, they're the ones that needed to sign off on it. We recommended in our purchasing the ES&S Express poll books and the Express Vote XL voting machines, which are the ones that were being purchased. On election day, we will still be using the old Dominion voting machines because the county commissioners decided to do a two-phase implementation. So for early voting, we get the new machines and the new poll books. And on election day, we'll still have the new poll books, but we'll have the old machines. And in 2022, we will replace the rest of the old machines. And hopefully for the primary of 2022, we'll have all new voting machines. So how did we choose the equipment? It was really a team effort. Beth Thompson, who is the Board of Elections Supervisor, led the team, and she was involved statewide in understanding what all of the different counties were doing. And the choices are different county by county. The Board of Election Commissioners also participated in all of the demonstrations. And actually Mary Ann created a super duper spreadsheet that had all kinds of details on it. And we ranked the equipment and ranked what we thought was the most important aspects of the equipment and made our recommendation. And the recommendation was the machines that they're purchasing. Also, a lot of the county employee stakeholders were present, including IT, building and maintenance, purchasing, and the county administrator. Mary Melfi also attended the demonstrations and offered her feedback. John Lanza, who is the Board of Elections liaison, and Sue Soloway also attended demos. And the county commissioners set up the two-phase approach to purchasing the machines. And I see we have 3 comments here. Anything I need to answer there, Mary Ann? I see you're answering.
Yeah, no, just the question was there's going to be no paper trail on election day, and that's correct because we'll be using the old machines.
That is correct. So this is just larger pictures of the new machines. The voting machine is the one on the left. The electronic poll book is on the right. The Board of Elections demonstrated the equipment at the 4-H fair. I don't know if any of you were able to go and see it. And we are anticipating there'll be additional equipment demos for the public coming soon. And you should watch the Board of Elections website so that you can see if you can go in and touch and play with one and know how they work. So our options for the 2021 general election include vote by mail, which is business as usual. If you're on the permanent list or you request a ballot, then you receive the vote by mail ballot, and you can drop off at the boxes, but you cannot drop them off at the polling places. So you can drop them off at the 12 ballot boxes around the county. You can drop them off at the county clerk's house, or you can mail them. You cannot bring them to the where the elections are taking place, either the polling places or the on election day. For early voting, anyone can early vote as long as you're not on the vote by mail list. You can, and there's no appointment. You can go anytime you want to any of the 3 locations. On election day, if you haven't voted by mail or you haven't gone to the early voting center, you can use your regular polling place. And this is all assuming that, you know, COVID doesn't get any worse and the governor doesn't make any changes. And as always, you know, vote by mail is just, you cannot vote in person if you've done vote by mail.
So we have another question, Joyce, about what security considerations were taken into consideration for selection of the new machines?
Actually, Marianne, I'm going to punt that one to you.
Okay.
Because
there were several layers of security that we had consideration for. So one of the first things that came to my mind was, okay, so now you've got these poll books, these electronic poll books that have to talk across, you know, the whole county. So you're obviously going to be on some kind of a network transmitting data. So we made sure that met with the requirements that the IT folks, that's why we were really happy that the county IT folks were there to ask, you know, the real nitty gritty questions about MiFis and Wi-Fis and hotspots and, you know, data encryption and things like that. So we were satisfied that the data being transmitted would be secure. The machines themselves, the actual voting machine, which is where the tallying of the votes will take place, they are never connected to the internet. So they are kind of standalone dumb machines that just, you know, tally the votes onto basically a flash drive. And then the ballots are dropped into a ballot box, right? So the actual physical box that's capturing the paper ballots is secured. It has what do they call it? Some kind of a security tab on it, right? So it's you can tell that whether somebody has been in it or not. It's at the end of the night, they put the security tab on it, and then it gets brought back to the clerk's office, you know, in the case. It comes right off on the machine and goes back to the clerk. The flash drive also goes back to the clerk, and this is similar to what we do with the current machines. They're really old school, so it's a big clunky cartridge. Think like kind of like your old VCR cartridges. You know, we were talking about 1996 technology. So now instead of it going onto a big cartridge, it goes to a flash drive, and there is somebody from each polling location that brings all of that back to the clerk's office, and then, you know, she opens everything up and starts to tally, and then she'll be doing that from the flash drives.
Mary or Joyce, would you mind just walking through for the early voting process? What happens step by step? So when you go to sign in, will the voter work on the poll book, or will it be the poll worker, and then the voter get a card like we used to get? Or could you just walk us through that?
Yeah. So with the
Joyce,
poll book,
you want to go back to the pictures of the equipment? There you go.
Okay, so with the poll book, there are a couple of different ways you can check in. You know, one way is if you bring your the sample ballot that you get from Mary. If you can scan that, you can see down at the bottom here, it has a place where you can drop something in and it can scan it. It will automatically bring you up. Or you would just tell the poll worker your name, and they would type in the first 3 letters of your last name. Like for me, it's Santos, and your name will come up. There'll be some choices, and they'll pick the correct one. And your information will show up, and you'll have to sign on the poll book. And the poll worker will be in charge of making sure the signature on the poll book and your signature match. At that point, because we chose the ES&S machine, you will get a long piece of paper, which is your ballot. And that paper, when you go over to the voting machine, that paper goes in and it will be your paper ballot. And when you put the machine in, then it will activate, and it has a code on it, so it knows what the ballot is, and it will activate your ballot and bring it up on the screen. You'll vote. It's a touch screen, so you'll vote for whomever you want to vote for. It will print the ballot, and the ballot shows up in the window next to it. And you can see the window kind of on the right-hand side of the screen here. And you will verify that the names that are printed there are the names that you want to vote for. And if you say yes, it will put it into this, it will drop it into the, it will scan it and drop it back into the scanning box. If you say no, it will give you the ballot back again, and you'll go back to the where the poll workers are, and they will spoil the ballot, and you'll get to do it all over again. Did that answer questions? It's very quiet.
There was one more.
There's more questions in the queue, but did I answer that question?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted folks to understand what the process would be on the paper and what that actually would look like for early voting, and then would look like next year, what there'll be. The other question in the chat box was, how do you know the barcodes that are printed on the ballot match what the voter verifies?
So the barcode on the top is just what the machine reads, and then it has listed underneath who you voted for. So if you voted for Joy Santos, it will say Joy Santos. It just, the accuracy of reading the barcode is much better than reading the Joy Santos, which is why it actually reads the barcode. But then we can go back after the machine tallies, we can go back and paper check and just make sure that it completely matches. And I'm sure there's some checking that the Board of Elections will do ahead of time to make sure that it's actually working that way.
Yeah, I guess so. That Marietta says it requires the voter to trust the barcode. So Marietta, that's not the case as I understand it. The barcode is not representing what you voted. What you voted is actually the specific printed out per name. So it's not translating your votes into a barcode that needs to be reinterpreted, as I understand it. Is that correct, Joyce?
Well, it does have a barcode at the top, which is what it scans, but it has what you voted for listed down below. So if you voted for Murphy for governor, it will say Murphy and whoever. So you look at it and you can see it. And we will have done testing to make sure if you say Murphy, it actually scans Murphy.
Okay. So the other question, which Marietta is saying, the tabulator reads the barcode. I understand the tabulator is just taking the data from the flash drive up. It's not reading barcodes to tabulate. Is that correct?
No, it is reading the barcode to tabulate, right? So what you're seeing in, printed English, showing what you voted is interpreted into a barcode, and the tabulator reads the barcode, right? So, but as Joyce said, we will run through testing that'll test every single possible vote on every ballot and verify that what was selected is what is tabulated. So that's, and that happens with the machines right now. We don't have barcodes, but the way the machines read our paper ballots, if you vote by mail, right, you got a piece of paper and you got a bunch of boxes with people's names. So it is reading the lines on the outside of the paper to get a positional reading of what you voted. So it's not that much different from the barcode, but it also goes through the same process, right? We have every single vote on every single ballot goes through a test to make sure that it was coded correctly.
And if there are any questions, we have the paper ballot that shows the names of who you voted for, that we can go back and count those names.
Right. And because we're doing paper, we are required now by law to audit anything that has a paper trail. In the past, we had to audit, last year we had to audit the vote by mails only, but that was basically the entire election. So this year we will have not only the vote by mail paper, but we'll have any paper from the early voting that comes through these machines. So the audits will be also another check to make sure that the results that we reported are in line with what the audit shows. And the audit is physically looking at every single paper ballot, not at the barcode, but looking at what the voter is looking at to verify and making sure that that matches up with the results that were reported.
Did that answer the question?
Well, I hope so. And at the end, if I think Marietta, if there's still questions, we can further get into and delve into that.
Okay. The other question that I answered in the chat was, who is voting? And I want to say it was unanimous. The four of us on the Board of Election Commissioners and Beth all voted for the ES&S machine and poll book. And the county commissioners agreed. We provided a very good case, and they agreed with what our recommendation was. Okay. Sorry. Get my mouse back in place. I can move the screen.
I'm sorry, we just have one more question before we go on.
Yeah, go ahead.
A clarification, can we clarify the voter? Does the voter get to look at his or her actual ballot before it's dropped into the secure location? And yes, they do. So maybe Joyce, you could kind of point to that window. It's kind of.
Yeah, can you see my mouse if I?
Yeah.
Because your ballot is right here. So whoever you vote for, it will be listed, you know, in a barcode on top and in English below. You know, you voted for Murphy, you voted for, you know, whomever else you choose to vote for will be listed right here in the window, and you will confirm it. Or if the wrong names are there, then you will say, no, that's not who I want, and you'll have the ability to start over again.
Right, and then Maria's got a question, does it drop right into the secure box? And yeah, maybe you can kind of point to where the box is located.
The box is back here, right?
Yeah, yep. So it drops right into that. You know, once you say, yes, this is what I intended to vote, you hit your cast ballot button. It's very similar to what we do now, right? There's the final push the button, and then that paper will drop into the container. And that's the container that I was saying is, you know, that's locked and sealed. And that whole box lifts right off the machine at the end of the night. So the poll workers aren't going into like a big bin and pulling ballots out and stuffing them in a bag. It's self-contained, and that whole box goes right back to the clerk and is sealed before it leaves the building.
And Mariette is saying, yes, I'm assuming it has to go back, it gets printed before being dropped. So it has to go back through the printer head, correct?
No.
No, it goes through the scanner.
Okay. So
it goes through the scanner and it drops in the box, and it drops in a random order in the box. We wanted to make sure also that it wasn't going to be in the order that people voted in. It's in a random order in the box.
Now, can I just ask for clarification, because I'm a little confused because of what you said earlier? So that thing that you're talking about on the right, is that the actual ballot that you're looking at that has been pre-printed, or is it what is going to be printed on the ballot?
Yeah, this is the electronic poll book. This is like right now, if you go to vote, you tell the poll worker
that's not specifically, I'm sorry. On the machine picture, this thing on the right that you're talking about, where you say that that's the ballot.
Yes.
If I'm a voter, am I looking at the actual ballot, or am I looking at what will be printed on the ballot before it's dropped? That's the part that's confusing, I think, for me at least.
Your selections will be printed on that piece of paper.
So I'm actually looking at the piece of paper it's printed. I'm looking at it's printed out. I'm looking at the piece of paper. And if I say it's correct, it would drop in. But if I say it's not, what happens to that piece of paper?
Then there's a little slot down here. It will come back out again. And you would go back to the poll worker, and they would spoil that ballot and give you another one.
Thank you.
And you get three tries and you're out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Well, and they're also going to, if you need a provisional ballot, I understand there was some question whether the state was going to allow us to use this for provisional balloting. So if you, for some reason, have to vote provisionally, you're going to go to the machine, you're going to get that piece of paper, you're going to vote the same way, but rather than taking your ballot and dropping it into the box, it's going to spit it back out. You're going to have to do the same process you would now with a paper provisional ballot, which is you're going to take that printed ballot, you're going to take it over to the poll worker that's handling the provisionals, you're going to fill out the form with an affidavit, you know, saying that you are the voter, and then that'll go back to the Board of Elections and get researched to make sure that your provisional vote should count.
Are we ready to go on? Any more questions?
I think we're good.
Okay. So as I think probably you guys have said once or twice in your meetings, democracy is not a spectator sport. We need poll workers. Democrats are needed to ensure equal representation. The statute in New Jersey requires that each voting district be equally staffed by Democrats and Republicans, but Democrats don't tend to step up, and there are more Republicans. So there's more Republicans at the poll booths than there are Democrats. The current pay is $200 for a full day. And the training will start September 25th. And to be eligible, you must be a registered voter in the county. There is currently a bill that has passed the New Jersey Senate that will be brought up in the New Jersey Assembly as soon as they go back in session, which should be soon. That should increase the pay to the same level as it was for the primary, which I believe was $400 for the day. But it's not passed yet, so we can't say that's going to be the pay. But if you're at all interested in being a poll worker, this is a great time to do it. And you can apply on the Hunterdon County Board of Elections website.
Do they pay for training, Joyce?
I think so. Marianne?
Yeah, I thought I heard that you get $30 to go to the training.
And I think they did for the primary as well.
Right.
Another question.
Are there vaccination requirements? We haven't quite gotten that far. The Board of Elections will be meeting before the election. And, I think we have to see how this is all shaking out. I can't say that we would require vaccinations, but I'm sure that masking will be up for discussion.
Right. I think we need to require masking, but it's my opinion.
But so far, the governor hasn't required it. So as a board, we would not take the step to, I don't think, to require vaccinations for the poll workers. We would hope that that the governor would do that. And the governor has been really good about, stepping up and making sure that the right kind of protections are in place in these kinds of situations. So we'll have to see what kind of guidance comes out.
But
Right.
so would this be something I could go to a county commissioner meeting and start voicing my request that the county require masks be used in all polling locations, especially, early voting locations?
I guess you could. The commissioners, we don't really report to the commissioners. The commissioners control the funds, so that's why we had to involve them with purchasing the equipment. The Board of Elections actually reports up to the Secretary of State.
So would that be something I would start writing Mary Melfi love notes to about requiring masking, for, or to be Beth or you?
I would start with Beth. I think if there's pressure from the community, even if the governor doesn't do a mask mandate, if there's enough pressure from the community, that would help us if we want to put a mask mandate in place.
And the governor too, writing a letter to the governor to say that this is important.
Okay, great. Capture that down in the notes. Okay, I think, so now I guess we don't have, I thought we might have a larger crowd. So if you do have another question, please feel free to unmute yourself and pose your question.
I would, if we were interested in being a poll worker, how does that process happen? Do we just tell you ladies, or do we go to the Board of Elections?
Right, there's a form on the Board of Elections website.
Okay.
And you would just go in and sign up on the form.
Yeah, and I would love to see more people maybe, who are technically literate. I know that, our poll workers in the past may not have been from the techno crowd. So
right, and And we're getting more technology with the new machines and the poll books. So having people there who are techno-literate is important.
So I would really, I think it's going to behoove us to try to A, get our democratic representation up, and B, get folks who are technically comfortable and literate to be able to come and to make this as smooth as a process as possible. So yeah, yes, we'll have the presentations and the recording will TBD, but they will be out there and available. Any other questions? Yeah, go ahead, Anita.
I'm just curious about other strategies that have been used to inform the public that these new machines are going to be being used, both the poll book and the new voting machines for the early voting, and then the how that process is going to be different, and any plans to handle or address challenges in response to something new that may seem scary or possibly even to be inviting problems.
Right. I know that, Beth and Mary intend on doing videos, like they did a lot of videos for the vote by mail last year. I'm sure they will expand upon that program. We're also working on the website to get the website, have more information on it. And also hopefully we can do more in-person demos.
Any other like press releases or anything in the more like traditional?
I don't know the answer to that. Mary Ann, do you?
Yeah, I don't know about press releases. I mean, we can certainly do that. I know Mary Melfi is very active with putting information on the clerk's Facebook page. So if you guys don't follow that already, I would encourage you to do that. And then if you're part of any groups other than this group who's very well informed, go ahead and share that information. I'm sure we'll have it on our website. We should think about press releases. It's the printed press and online press. Sometimes I don't know that people read it, but we can certainly make sure that it's advertised.
Yeah, as soon as you know when those sessions are, if you let us know, we can publicize it through our network as well, so that we can try to spread the news.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that would be good.
I think our initial thoughts were that we would do it at the actual early voting centers, ahead of election, ahead of the early voting, so not only will you become familiar with the equipment, but you'll know, where you're going if you want to go and early vote.
Right.
That would be a great idea. That's a great plan. It's a big change. I know, maybe if you're allowed, I guess it would become public knowledge. Can you give the folks online here a flavor for the cost for the initial purchase, and then the secondary cost for the balance of the purchase for 2022?
Joyce, do you have that off the top of your head?
I do not.
Ballpark.
I'm thinking 1.4 million for early voting. Does that sound right, Joyce?
Say it again.
1.4 million for all the equipment we're buying this year, and then maybe another 800,000 next year to completely replace the voting fleet. I believe they were coming in a little over $2 million. So think about it. It's the equipment. So it's the voting machine. It's the poll book. We have to buy racks to store and charge up those electronic poll books. We have to buy some new trailers to trailer the equipment, because we already we're looking to replace the trailers that the buildings and maintenance uses to bring the equipment out because they were old. So we're getting that as part of this. What else? The paper, the toner for the ink, there's a lot that goes into it. And then you have software licensing. We've got workstations that we need, because we're going to get all new workstations and software. We're buying a big machine that basically sorts the ballots, right? So when we go to do those audits, the audits, what we have to do is we have to drill down to a specific precinct within a township, right? We go down to that level, and we have to do 2% of the the votes cast. So we have to be able to sort those ballots quickly. So we're buying a large machine that's not only will tabulate the vote by mails, but it also has this nifty sorting capacity for us that'll help with the auditing. So it's a lot of pieces and parts.
Yeah, all kinds of pieces and parts I'd never thought of.
And the state, how much does the state going to give us, or the county, for this? Is this something that the taxpayers here in the county pay for, or do we get funds from the state?
The state is reimbursing for early voting. So any of the amount of money that we spend on early voting will get reimbursed by the state, which is why the county commissioners decided to do it in two pieces, because they want to get that reimbursement before they buy the rest of the equipment. And I apologize if anybody's hearing my cat. She's being very vocal right now.
She's saying, sign up to be a poll worker.
Exactly. She's saying you've been gone for like 2 weeks and you haven't come back and pet me. It's like, what are you doing sitting on the computer?
One of the other things could you give the folks a flavor for, and I was really overwhelmed about the number of different ballots just in Hunterdon County. Again, ballpark.
Marion, was
Well,
that?
we have 26 municipalities, right? And if you're going down to the school board level, think about, your town. You have a grammar school and you've got a high school. So, you split the 26 by 2. So it depends on the year, right? And who's on the ballot, but it can be hundreds.
If we have county committee, then it goes down to the district level in town. So I thought that was like 216. Is that wrong?
Yeah.
Is it?
Right. So next year will be a county committee year where, you're electing your county committee representative, like Joyce said, at the precinct level. So that's when it really blossoms.
So I was amazed by that. So the early voting equipment has to be prepared to print, and they have to create 216 different ballot configurations. I mean, the complexity is just amazing.
Right. Which is why we go through that testing, right? Because this is all programmed, and any good IT person will tell you that you program and you test before you release.
Right.
Other questions as we wind down? Any other questions? Any questions about Indivisible, Lambertville-New Hope, or other input?
I would like to say something. Can you hear me?
Yes, Nancy,
All
go
right.
ahead.
I just wanted to thank Marianne and Joyce for doing this. This is what we've needed for a long time. And to take on this change of equipment, it's been a bane to Hunterdon County for a long time, because some of this equipment is so old that it's barely on its last legs. So I appreciate so much that you guys have taken that on, because it could not have been a small feat.
Well, thank you. I mean, across the state, everybody's facing the same thing, but I think we had a good team working on it. And, our supervisor, like Joyce said early on, there's a statewide association of Board of Election supervisors. And so they've been meeting ever since, we got the directive about early voting, and sharing a lot of information. So it's really nice to see. Everybody thinks government's dysfunctional, but this team of people was really working hard. I have to say, it's a lot of women working really hard to make sure that everybody, had the benefit of all the information that and was going to make a good choice for the voters.
So I see that Sandra Matson is on, who was with the League of Women Voters. Is there anything that you would want to share from the League before we sign off, Sandy?
No, not at this time. Thank you.
Okay. All right. If there's no further questions, our heartfelt thanks to Marianne and Joyce, not only for their work on the Board of Elections, which we appreciate, but for preparing the presentation and coming to help educate us. And we can give back to them by all signing up to become poll workers.
That
So,
would be great.
Thank you very much.
all right, and stay tuned. We'll let everybody know where the presentation will be and the recording will be stored. Thanks again, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Great job.